Okay. Good day, everyone. I welcome you to another discussion about Earth science. So this is session two. Okay. So last time we have discussed the four main branches of Earth science. Okay. As you remember, we have one, geology. We have two, astronomy. We have the third one, we have oceanography. And the fourth one, we have meteorology. Okay, so each of these four main branches has its own respective sub-sciences. So it includes many sciences that is a component of the branch itself. Okay, so today I will show you an outline of the branches of the earth sciences branch, each branch that is according to my reference. So that is earthhow.com. So as a recap, meteorology discusses about our air. Okay. Geology tackles about our land. Oceanography talks more about our waters in our oceans. And astronomy, on the other hand, talks about the Earth's beyond. And all of these things includes or that gives life itself on our planet. Okay, so mainly studying our planet is such a vast topic because it includes all of these things. Okay, so it involves on how natural world interacts with our surroundings. So because in order to define earth science and its interconnectedness, we need a complete list of the sub-sciences that encapsulates the topic in full. Okay, so let's start. See, let's start with astronomy. So on your screen, we have four sub-sciences of astronomy. So we have astrophysics, astrometry, astrogeology, and astrobiology. So, overall, astronomy is the study of celestial objects and its underlying phenomena. Okay, so it compasses the terms that studies everything beyond the Earth's atmosphere. So it applies the concepts from physics, from geology, from biology. So in order for us humans or scientists to explain their origin and as well how does it evolve. Okay, so these are the four subparts. Okay, so astrophysics, so it applies the laws, the governing laws of physics to our galaxies, to our stars, and also with the celestial bodies and the universe as a whole. Okay? So for example, astrophysicist examines the evolution and classification of our galaxies, okay, as well as our stars. Okay? We have Albert Einstein's general theory of relativity, okay, and the expanding universe itself. So it consists of these following sciences on your screen. Okay, from cosmology up until to heliophysics. Okay, so the second one is we have astrometry. Okay, from the word metry, so it measures something. Okay, so it is concerned with how celestial bodies are positioned uh from one area to another. Okay? So it tackles more about the positioning of the heavenly objects and how does it move in space. Okay? So it includes the dynamics, okay, and the composition and how many of these celestial objects exist outside our own solar system. Okay, so we have the third one. We have astrogeology. So it talks more about the geological nature to our celestial objects. Okay, like for example, we are getting more and more nearer with our neighbors in space. So, for example, you have Mars. Okay, we are doing experiments. Are doing exploration so that we can find uh, either there if there is life on Mars. Okay, so we will study more about is it in it is its geological aspect. Okay, so moreover, it will tackle about the moon or the moons of our solar system or in the that is subjected in different planets, the asteroids, the meteorites, and also the comets. Okay, so that is for astrogeology. The last one is we have astrobiology. So on one part, it consists on how life okay, including the extraterrestrials in the universe. How does it evolve? How does it originated? And what will be its fate? Okay, so it involves the search, also, the search of life outside our Earth. Okay, that includes the environments that could support it. So we have these four sciences in the branch of astronomy. Okay, next is we have the branches of geology. So we have five. Okay, we have chronology, topography, natural resources, tectonics, and lastly, we have sediment and rocks. Okay, so again, geology is the study and the science of how Earth's landforms were created, have changed over time, and how they will evolve. So whether if it is fossils, whether it is talks about magnetic fields, whether it talks about landforms, everything is concerned with reconstructing the past. And with respect to reconstructing the past, that is chronology. So chronology from the word chrono meaning time. Okay? So it tackles about time and history. It tells us how old rocks is, how geological events are dated, and how do we deal with these organisms that is evolving on these landscapes. Okay, so for example, the study of fossils, okay, the evolution of organisms, evolution of humans also, okay, that is the chronological part of geology. Okay, second one is we have tectonics. It is another branch of geology that tells us how Earth's crust evolves through time, contributing to mountain building. For example, how did Mount Mayon or any mountain in the Philippines came to be? Okay. It also measures on how old the continents are and how do earthquakes originated. Also, how it explains on how volcanoes erupt. Okay, so this field applies the underlying principles of plate tectonics to seismology, volcanoes, earthquakes, and other geological events. Okay, so next, of course, we have also these natural resources. So it includes all of the fields of science that governs with the raw materials and resources that we are using for our technology and for us humans to survive. Okay, so we have petrology. Okay, fun fact, petrology is the study of rocks. Mineralogy, study of minerals. Gemology, we have crystallography. We have soil science, pedology, edaphology, agronomy, and agrology. So it involves also on the agriculture part. So that's why we have agronomy that talks how the field of agriculture is involved. Okay, how the science is involved in agriculture, such as crop production. Okay, we have also biotechnology, and we have also the aspects of soil science itself. Okay, so next is we have the fields of sediments and rocks. So one part of it is sedimentology that tells us how sand, silt, and clay are deposited and explains on how the processes will act on that superficial body. Okay, we have also this hydrogeology. It analyzes how groundwater is transported and is being distributed in the soil, rock, and also in our Earth's crust. So we have also last, we have this glaciology that talks more about our glaciers in the North Poles and in the South Poles. Okay, last one is we have topography. So it tackles about the physical features, whether it be natural or artificial. So it talks about the arrangement of the landscapes. So when we say about topography, we will tackle about the climate models, air flow, water flow, land formations, and how do we better understand the past tectonic activity on an area. How do we differentiate different landscapes, okay, from one area to another. Okay, so these are the sub-sciences of the branches of geology. So next, let's go deep into our oceans, into the branch of oceanography. So it is the same as in the astronomy. So it tackles more about the four sciences. So we have this chemistry, physics, biology, and geology. So in chemistry, it talks more about the composition of our ocean waters. Thus, it tells us how these chemical properties interact with our oceans. Okay. In the physics part, it involves with the movements of the water itself. Okay. From the surface currents down to the deep ocean currents. Okay. So it also tells us how deep our oceans, and it also tells us how these currents circulate around the globe. Okay, so with this physics and chemistry, it requires it more on um the survivability of the marine organisms. So this is the part of biology. So it understands how life in the oceans behave in their natural habitat. Okay, the last one is we have geology that talks about how our ocean landforms will evolve in due time. So it talks about the creation of the an ocean, or how does an ocean will end in the future. Okay, how does the land structures below is moving. Okay, everything that talks about the landscape that is found below in the ocean waters, that is the geological part of oceanography. So we can see um, the raw materials that is found deep below. We can also map the things underneath our oceans. Okay, so these are all the sciences of oceanography. So we have, let's move on to the branches of meteorology. So meteorology, these are the branches. Okay, again, meteorology is the study of short and long term. So basically, we will talk about the weather and climate. Okay, so it involves these two things. Okay, the physics part here talks about the processes on which this weather and climate is being made. Okay, being created. Okay, so it tells us how these climate systems varies from the past, and how does climate change that will affect us in the future. Okay, also it involves the chemistry part, so the composition of our air. Okay, so rather it tells us how these processes influences the changes of our weather and climate in the earth's atmosphere. Okay, so last we have life. So other in the our atmosphere, we have the troposphere, the lowest layer. So that includes our own biosphere, and that talks about life itself. Okay, so it talks more on how air circulates in the troposphere or in the atmosphere, and how is it being transferred on land for us organisms to survive. Okay? So when we talk about survivability, we will talk more about the aspect of biology and environmental science. So you have this A, B, C, and D. So you have pathology, chronology, ecosystem, and botany. So these branches of biology tackles more about how life and living organisms are structured, distributed, originated, evolved, and its underlying functions. So biology works with time in chronology, diseases, that's in pathology, ecosystems, on how do we interact with other uh, living things, and also with non-living things, and also with plants, and that is botany. So everything tackles about life itself. Okay, so that talks about the sub-sciences of earth science. Okay, so for a reference, this is the reference of the branches of earth science and its sub-sciences according to earthhow.com. So That sums up everything about the fields and branches of earth science. So I hope you've learned something on this discussion. And that's all for today. So next week, we will go further deep in time and space. Okay. So see you on our next discussion. Goodbye.